I was just tripping off of this is my favorite time of the year with the NBA. I actually love basketball more than football, which a lot of people don't know. I'm a diehard Alabama fan, but I love the NBA more than anything else. And Michael Jordan has always been my favorite basketball player, and he's really the reason I became a fan of the NBA and got into the game. Well, now we actually have the playoffs coming up. It's April, right around the corner, 40 days, 40 nights, NBA playoffs. And lately, the biggest conversation has always been, has LeBron James surpassed Michael Jordan? Is he the greatest of all time? And you got these diehard brainwashed dummies, is what I call them, who either don't know anything about LeBron or believe everything that they hear on social media and read on the internet. They might hear ESPN personalities say it on TV, and they swear up and down, Jordan never did this. LeBron did this with this, and it's always a reason and an excuse of why LeBron couldn't get this done and couldn't get that done. They'll say stupid stuff like Jordan is only 6-0 because he never faced anybody in the finals, or he only won 6 rings because of Scottie Pippen. He couldn't even get out of round one of a playoff until Scottie Pippen came along. He's 1-9. It's always a reason and an excuse to justify why LeBron is 3-5 in the NBA Finals. Point blank, period. If he's as great as you say, he should have a better resume than Michael Jordan. But it goes above and beyond the 6 rings of why Michael Jordan is clearly better than LeBron, regardless of what these radio personalities try to make you believe and manipulate you with. And I'm going to break it down to you just like this. Michael Jordan is the first basketball player in NBA history to ever win season MVP, finals MVP, and all-star MVP all in the same season. He did that in the 1995-96 season. That was the year the Chicago Bulls also went 72-10, the first NBA team ever to win 72 games in a regular season out of 82, which means they only lost 10, 8 on the road, 2 at home, and they lost 3 in the playoffs that year. And Jordan went on to win his 4th championship, which was his first of his second three-peat run. Notice how I say his second three-peat run. LeBron hasn't even won 1 three-peat. Even when he had all the help in the world going to Miami, he still barely won 2 titles. Thank God for Ray Allen. And y'all know what I'm talking about because I'm going to get to that in a minute too. Now, if we look above and beyond the rings, people are quick to say, well, how else is he better than LeBron beyond the rings? Okay, if you look at career high in points, Michael Jordan scored 69 points, most points ever in a game from him against the Cleveland Cavaliers back in like 89-90. The most points LeBron ever scored was 61 versus the Bobcats 2014 when he was with the Miami Heat. The most points LeBron ever scored in a playoff game is 49, 2014 versus the Brooklyn Nets, round 2. The most points Michael Jordan ever scored was 63 versus Boston, 1986. And that record still stands for most points ever by a player versus Boston in Boston Garden, and most points ever by a player in a playoff game. So that's something LeBron hasn't done yet either. Then we get to the NBA Finals. People rave that LeBron scored 41 points back-to-back 2016 against the Warriors in games 4 and 5. Not even Michael Jordan ever did that. And they are so right. That's one thing I have to give them credit for. They are right about that. Because in 1993, game 2 versus the Phoenix Suns, Jordan went off for 42 points. Game 3, Jordan went off for 44 points. And game 4, Jordan went off for 55 points. So please, let's not get it twisted. LeBron James never did that. So when he can get on Jordan's level and do that, holla at your boy. Until then, cut the check. Now, we look at Madison Square Garden. It's the mecca of basketball versus the Knicks. LeBron went off for 52 points. That's the most points he's ever scored against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. The most points Jordan ever scored, 55, as number 45 back in 1995. That record stood for like 13 years. Most points ever by a player versus the Knicks in the Garden until Kobe Bryant broke that record around the 2008-2009 season. and went off for like 61 points. And the crowd started chanting MVP because Kobe went on. He went off. He was on fire. That record stood another 4 years to my knowledge before Carmelo Anthony broke the record as a New York Knick himself, and he went off for 62. So now I think he holds the record for most points ever in Madison Square Garden, but he was a New York Knick. But y'all get the point. So then the argument is, well, clearly Jordan is a better scorer. LeBron is a better all-around player. He can make everybody on his team better. Okay. The most season MVPs LeBron has ever won is 4. Jordan won 5. Team record, I already told you, the best record LeBron has ever had is 66-16 to my knowledge. His third year with the Miami Heat, where he had a stacked team, and they went on a 27-game win streak. Let's not forget, as I stated earlier, Michael Jordan, 72-10 with the Chicago Bulls in the 95-96 season. Once again, no argument as far as I'm concerned. Slam dunk contest. LeBron teased the idea he'll get in. I'm going to join. Never joined once. Michael Jordan did join. He got beat his rookie year in 1985 by Dominique Wilkins, but he beat Dominique in a rematch in 1988. And the year before that, he beat Jerome Kersey in 87. So he's a 2-time slam dunk champion. Okay. It's always the argument from LeBron fans. Well, Jordan couldn't even get out of round 1 of a playoff first round matchup without Scottie Pippen. He's 1-9. What they failed to mention, though, is LeBron James didn't even make the playoffs his first 2 years in the NBA. Think about that for a second now. He's supposed to be the greatest. He can make everybody around him better, but he didn't even make the playoffs his first 2 years. Jordan never missed the playoffs his whole career with the Chicago Bulls, whether he got beat in round 1, 2, 3. Well, of course, he never lost 4 because he's undefeated, obviously. He never missed the playoffs. The only time Jordan ever missed the playoffs was when he was 38, 39, I think, playing with the Washington Wizards when he was way past his prime. And they missed the playoffs then by 1 game. LeBron, young in his prime, didn't even make the playoffs his first 2 years. He didn't make the playoffs until his 3rd try, just like he didn't win his first NBA championship until his 3rd try. Whether you want to accept it or not, forget all the excuses. You can shut it down by saying he didn't have this person didn't do that. I don't want to hear it. If LeBron is as great as you say, better than Jordan, he should have played better than Jordan and done better than Jordan. So regardless of what stats and numbers you want to brainwash people with and say he's better than today, it shells into comparison what Michael Jordan did. Because for one, Michael Jordan never played with a Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh or Ray Allen. LeBron can't make players around him better. He needs a team around him to make him better. And if you think I'm lying, look at what he was doing in Cleveland his first 7 years, and look at what he did when he went to Miami for 4 years and then went back to Cleveland for the last 3 going on 4 years. Things he did in Miami, he never did in Cleveland. And if you think I'm lying, Google it. Check this out. He never went to 4 straight NBA finals in Cleveland. He did that in Miami. He never won back-to-back titles in Cleveland. He did that in Miami. He never won back-to-back season MVP and finals MVP in Cleveland. He did that in Miami. He never won season MVP, finals MVP, and an Olympic medal in the same season in Cleveland. He did that as a Miami Heat. As I stated earlier about the 27-game win streak, he never did that to my knowledge in Cleveland, but he did it with the Miami Heat. He never went off and hit a career high of 61 points as a Cleveland Cavalier. He hit 61 points as a Miami Heat playing against the Bobcats 2014. And that career high that he has in the playoff, 49 points, he was a Miami Heat then as well. So he never did that as a Cav either. So obviously, if LeBron was as great as you say, where he could make everybody around him better, I feel he could have stayed in Cleveland to win his first championship. Deep down, he knows his so-called hardcore fans that claim they love him so much now, they were probably the same ones burning his jersey when he went to Miami. But when he came back, we love you, LeBron. We never hated you. Yeah, miss me with that. Anyway, he had to leave Cleveland to prove what he could do. Because without that help, he never would have accomplished any of that stuff he accomplished. So let's just be 100 when we say this. Everybody needs a team. Jordan never won 6 championships by himself. It was a team effort. But we all know Michael Jordan was the man on that team. And he was good enough to not only get better, but he can make everybody on that team better. You never would have noticed Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant if it wasn't for Michael Jordan. LeBron James has people on his team. Honestly, they make you notice him when he's putting up his stats. He might get this many assists. And it's real cool. It's real cute. He led in this category, that category in the finals 2 years ago, #1 and all of that. But the same way people say Jordan is 1-9 in the first round matchup without Scottie Pippen, they forget LeBron is 0-2 in Cleveland in the NBA finals without Kyrie Irving. Think about it. 2007, he didn't have Kyrie. He got swept by the Spurs in 4 straight games. 2015, Kyrie got hurt after game 1 in the finals. Even after being down 3-2, LeBron was the one who very arrogantly said, I'm confident because I'm the best player in the world. That's simple. They lost the very next game. Don't talk about it, be about it. Just go out and play your game. You never heard Michael Jordan one time say he was the greatest. Even when asked that question, he always said, I will never be the greatest because I never got to face the greatest. So therefore, it's a mockery to the people that came before me. Always humble, always respectable in his answers, the way he carried himself with dignity and class. Now on the court, he's an assassin. We are not friends if we are opponents. The only friend he had on the court was that ball, and he showed no mercy against everybody he played. You can't say the same thing about LeBron because 2011, he only got 9 points in the NBA Finals. Jordan never scored only 9 points in the NBA Finals. He might have scored 9 points per quarter. 9 times 4, 36. I'm just saying. Kyrie Irving is the reason Cleveland won the championship, and the fact that Draymond Green got suspended in part because of LeBron. Let's not forget, Draymond fell down in game 4. LeBron could have went around that man and got back into the game. He tried to step on the man's face, step over him. Draymond swung. Of course, Draymond gets suspended because LeBron is the marquee name. He's the poster child for the NBA. We get all that. But you know how it goes. When you're LeBron James, you get special treatment. So Draymond got suspended. And by game 5 and 6, Andrew Bogut, the rim protector, he was hurt. Andre Iguodala had a bad back. When LeBron went off for 41 in game 5, who else went off for 41 with him? Kyrie Irving. LeBron went off for 41 in game 6. I think Kyrie had 27, 30 points, something like that. He went off again. And you can brag on the block all you want to that LeBron made in game 7. If it wasn't for Kyrie hitting the shot, Cleveland doesn't win a championship. So they won that title because of Kyrie, as far as I'm concerned. If Jordan only won 6 rings because of Pippen, when obviously he was averaging 41 points per game and Pippen might have got 12 here and there, please, I'm going to give all credit to Kyrie. It cuts both ways. So no matter how you cut it, slice it, or dice it, no matter what credentials you try to throw at LeBron James being better than Michael Jordan, it's going to shell into comparison what MJ did. Point blank, period. You can make all the excuses and say LeBron had to go against 4 All-Stars in the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan never did. Well, Michael Jordan never left and formed a super team full of All-Stars to make other people compete against him either. You got to think about that. The only time Jordan ever played with a stacked deck was the 1992 Dream Team in Barcelona, where he played with Reggie Miller, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, John Stockton, Karl Malone, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. You never saw Michael Jordan play with these people during a regular season. They did that in the Olympics representing USA, where they won a gold medal also, by the way. The greatest team ever in the Olympics. But when you look at LeBron, he'd rather team up with superstars than go against them. Any way you cut it, slice the dice, this man in the past 7 years, there is no way Michael Jordan would have teamed up with Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and still be 3-4 in the past 7, about to be 3-5 because they're going to lose again this year against the Warriors or the Rockets, no matter who they face. And you're going to sit here and tell me the only reason Jordan had 6 rings is because he didn't face anybody. If you put LeBron in Jordan's situation, LeBron might have been 1-5 at best, but I think he would have been 0-6 because he's not good enough to carry that team like Jordan was. And if Jordan would have played with the kind of help the past 7 years LeBron has had, he wouldn't be 3-4. He would have been 7-0. The only reason LeBron has more games under his belt, more minutes, and has broken Jordan's scoring record, people forget Michael Jordan went to college. He didn't come into the NBA till he was like 21. He was busy winning championships at North Carolina in 1982, hitting the game-winning shot against Georgetown, and he was a back-to-back College Player of the Year. LeBron came straight out of high school at age 18. Let's not forget, Michael Jordan also quit the game back in 93 after his father was murdered, and he went to play baseball. He didn't come back till March of 95. Not in great basketball shape, and at the end of the day, he got outplayed by the Orlando Magic, and they destroyed Jordan in round 2 that year, so it's nothing you could say. But the following year, when Jordan came back full circle and got back in great basketball shape, what happened to Orlando? They got destroyed by Michael Jordan in 4 straight games in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was a wrap for that. Meanwhile, LeBron James has been playing 15 straight years, and he hasn't played all 82 games. I get that he's been playing full seasons to a degree, but not all the way to a degree. Michael Jordan never sat out to rest in his prime. The only time Jordan ever sat out in a game was when he physically couldn't play and the doctors told him, you can't go out and play. Michael Jordan didn't sit out to rest. He sat out when he was hurt his sophomore year. When he was healthy enough to play, he came back and still dropped 63 on Boston, even though they lost. And you want to sit here and say LeBron had to go against 4 All-Stars in the NBA Finals talking about the Spurs and Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. Jordan had to go against 6 Hall of Famers against Boston. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, Bill Walton. You think LeBron could have got through that? Hell, LeBron got swept, like I said, in 07 by the Spurs, so I know damn well he wouldn't have seen Boston in their prime. So stop acting like he's greater than he actually is. It's not the fact that people hate LeBron as much. They just hate his ways of acting like a kid, sometimes being very childish, crying about playmakers. He comes off too arrogant and egotistical sometimes. And then you have social media and everybody trying to force him on you, and people just get sick of hearing that after a while. Because I would let anybody know I used to be a hardcore LeBron James fan. You couldn't tell me nothing about LeBron 10 years ago. I was rooting for him to win the championship. But I woke up. He came out being humble, down to earth. Then after a while, he started getting real arrogant and cocky acting, and you could see a change in his demeanor. Where even when he got to Miami, he was the one that was bragging, talking like, when game time started, man, it's going to be easy. We feel for a lot of teams. We ain't talking about winning not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. That was him doing all that talking. It wasn't Wade. It wasn't Pat Riley. That was LeBron. And if you're going to talk about it, you need to be about it. The fact that he got to the finals in 2007 with no help, I gave him a pass and said he didn't have a team. That's why he lost. 2011, you have a team. You can't blame Dwayne Wade like people love to blame and say Wade had a bum knee. He was hurt. Wade was not hurt in 2011 when he was averaging 26.6 points a game. Chris Bosh, who was the third wheel, he hit the game-winning jumper in Game 3 and took the Heat up 2-1. Where was LeBron? No call, no show. And where I work at, if you were no call, no show, that's 4 points. Automatic termination. You know what I'm saying? This dude did not show up. You get 1 point in the fourth quarter in this game. 0 points in the fourth quarter of that game. You only get 9 points throughout the whole game of, I forgot what game it was. It don't matter because games 4, 5, and 6, he sucked in all them games. So you can take your pick. Pick your poison. And I know he did a lame podcast a couple years ago, LeBron's, talking about how Jordan receives way too much credit for his championship rings. People act like LeBron doesn't receive way too much credit for his championship rings. Miss me with that. Like he talked about 93, how the offense was running through Pippen, who kicked it to Grant. Grant kicked it back to Paxson for the wide open 3. But what people forget, in the fourth quarter, 1993, Game 6, until John Paxson hit that 3, Michael Jordan had scored every single basket for the Chicago Bulls prior to that moment to keep them in the game. That's how you lead your team and lead by example. They rely on you to get it done, and you take over like you're supposed to. LeBron loves to defer, and he'll pass the ball to somebody for them to take the shot, and he'll receive all the glory because he's LeBron James. Because if you fast forward 20 years later in 2013, LeBron tried to be the hero, going for the 3. He missed. Chris Bosh rebounded, kicked it to Ray Allen for the step back three, and we have overtime. Thank God for Ray Allen. And it's the same way Kyrie saved him in Cleveland. Ray Allen saved him in Miami. And the only reason he won that first championship in 2012, truthfully, he went up against a young OKC team. People act like when he beat 3 future Hall of Famers in Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, he was facing those guys how they are today. Man, Westbrook was 22. Harden was like 22. I think Durant might have been 23. It's the same way how when LeBron got to the finals, his 4th year, he might have been like 21, and he got destroyed by the Spurs, inexperience. Same exact scenario. It wasn't like he was going against the Westbrook putting up all those triple doubles. It wasn't like he was going up against the Harden, who's season MVP, who's going to get it over LeBron again this year. And it wasn't like he went against that Kevin Durant from last year, who completely destroyed his ass by shooting that jumper in his face in game 3. Y'all remember that. There ain't no excuse for that. If Kevin Durant is supposed to be the number 2 best player in the world and LeBron is number 1, how did the number 1 player get outplayed by the number 2 player last year? Something to think about. Anyway, I can go on and on for days, because at the end of the day, no matter what I say as a Jordan fan, it's going to always be an excuse of this. As a LeBron fan, it's going to always be an excuse for that. You cheer for who you cheer for, don't for who you don't. Y'all feel free to write comments about other stuff if you want to. But we all know who the real number 23 is. It's that dude that came from North Carolina at guard. Come on now. There's a reason LeBron chose that number instead of another number. He wants to be like Mike, but he can't, and he never will. So LeBron fans, get deep in your feelings. Holler back at your boy. See y'all in June after that L. Peace.